It's an entry for Rob Walker's 2-year anniversary contest. Ahoy hoy everybody, and welcome to another video, and it's another contest entry, and we are celebrating the 2-year anniversary of Rob Walker Let the Music Play on the vinyl community. Rob, I've mentioned a number of times, he's one of my favourite VC channels. Great guy, chatted loads, we sent each other VCLT. Yeah, as I say, one of my favourite channels. Interesting, good videos, interesting taste in music, very diverse, very dry sense of humour that I don't think everybody picks up on, but I usually do. Yeah, can't recommend Rob enough. I will link to his channel down below. So he's been in with VC 2 years now, and so as he did after 1 year, he's doing another contest, and his subject this time is 5 or more albums by artists you wish you'd seen in concert. I've decided to go for 10. One of the things I'm going to show you is not an album, it's a single, but that's purely for ease of showing. Because I would either have to show you CDs, or I'd have to fish through my big pile of my big to listen to pile to fish out albums. So I just grabbed something that was easy, which is a single. And I will start with that. These are in no particular order, but these are 10 acts I would really like to have seen live. And first up is the inevitable The Beatles. So yes, this is a 7-inch single from their singles box set. This is Lady Madonna backed with the Inner Light, and I just love that cover. That's why I picked this one. I say I'd like to have seen the Beatles live, and my mum did see the Beatles live, and it is something she'll always have over me, is that she saw the Beatles live. However, I'm not sure I'd actually enjoy seeing the Beatles live, assuming I was seeing the Beatles live in, between 63 and 66, was it they stopped touring? But in that short period where they did tour, purely because I wouldn't have been able to hear them over the streaming. Their musicianship wasn't great, particularly towards the end of that time, because they couldn't hear themselves. So whilst I would have seen the Beatles live, I'm not sure I would have heard the Beatles live. So I say I'd like to have seen them, but that's on the caveat that I'd like to see them now, if you like. Excusing the fact, obviously 2 of them cannot do that, but you get the point. If we could take 1965 Beatles and stick them on a stage now, then that's what I'd like to see. Next up, it's another one that's never going to happen. It's Ian Dury, with the Blockheads preferably. This is his debut album, New Boots and Panties, a masterpiece. Love Ian Dury. Came to him fairly late. It was just after he... As I mentioned before, I think it was just after he died. They did the tribute album. Something's nagging at me that it was actually just before, but no, I think it was just after he died. Brand New Boots and Panties, which was this album re-recorded by various people, which I got because primarily Robbie Williams was on it, but other good people as well, including Paul McCartney. Loved that. Made me buy this, not this actual copy, the CD of it. And then from there, most of his work. There's a couple of albums I still haven't got around to, a couple of his solo albums. But yeah. So it was around that time that I really got into Ian and absolutely love him, and would love to have seen him live. The live recordings and live DVDs and what have you that have been released are all amazing. So yeah, Ian Dury. Next we have, I picked up this album because it is a live album, Joni Mitchell. Although I love Joni throughout her career, and my favourite album is Blue, but from her, and it's one of my favourite albums ever. I think, having just finished listening to the first Archive Collection box, I think I'd have loved to have seen her just before she became famous. I really liked the recordings of her. Just her and the guitar and her voice and telling stories to the crowd and just small, intimate, it sounded really good and like somewhere you'd really like to be. That said, I'd love to have seen her at any point in her career because she's amazing. So yes, Joni Mitchell. A band I hugely regret not seeing, and that's Pulp. One of my favourite bands, easily. Absolutely love them. Anything from His and Hers onwards. Pre-His and Hers does nothing for me. Never really got the chance. Britpop was my thing, but it was while I was at university, the bulk of it. I couldn't really afford to go to many gigs. In fact, the only gigs I did go to were comedy gigs because they were a bit cheaper for a start. And it was something we sort of, all the people in our flat liked the same sort of comedy. So we used to go to them together. Whereas gigs, music, we all had very diverse tastes. That said, I don't remember Pulp sort of playing anywhere local in that sort of time. I was at Cardiff. I don't remember them playing Cardiff. They may have done. Might have just passed me by. I wanted to see them when they reunited, but again, the nearest I could do that was the Isle of Wight Festival, and it was after they stopped doing day tickets for the festival. When I saw David Bowie there, they did day tickets, so I just went over for I think it was the Sunday that he played. Whereas now, you either go for all the days, or you pay for all the days anyway, or nothing, and I wasn't going to pay for 3 days just to go over for one day. They may get back together again, and if they do, fingers crossed, I'll get to see them, but absolutely love Pulp. Somebody who hopefully I will get to see one day, PJ Harvey. She doesn't tour a lot, and she's one of these acts who, when they do tour the UK, it's just sort of 5 or 6 cities. So it's a case of travelling to Brighton or London, or even further afield. That tends to be the nearest she plays, although she did play a little warm-up gig a couple of years back at the Wedgwood Rooms in Portsmouth, but I didn't find out about it until after it had happened, which was annoying. But I absolutely love PJ Harvey. She's possibly my favourite female artist. I would love to see her live. Again, it's just timing of being able to get to somewhere a bit further afield, you know, working around work, and obviously her playing. She's also somebody who I'd have to go and see on my own because nobody I know, well, you know, family-wise or friends-wise, is a fan. So it would mean a drive up to London or a drive to Brighton, which isn't quite as far, but still a fair old trek on my own. But yeah, hopefully one day I'll get to see PJ. Another one that's not going to happen, Chaz and Dave. Love Chaz and Dave. And they were a great live act. And they played locally a hell of a lot. And 9 times out of 10 it didn't work-wise. And I thought, oh, they'll be back, so I don't need to, you know, I won't book a day off work just to go and see them because they'll be back. And I kept saying they'll be back. And of course, they weren't, because sadly we lost Chaz 2 years ago now. Yeah, so really gutted, but I never got to see them. Love to see Miles, preferably around this time. Any time would be interesting. Bitches Brew era would be very interesting. But this is the era I love. So to be sat in one of those smoky clubs in wherever he used to play. New York? Did he used to play New York? I'm sure he used to play New York. Listening to him would have been amazing. Possibly the greatest live band ever, Queen. Some of you will disagree with that, but fair enough. But combination of their musicianship and then Freddie as a frontman. Would have loved to have seen them. I was just getting into them when they were doing their last tour, the Magic tour. In fact, Live Magic, the live album from it, was my first Queen album. So it never got the chance. I'm not interested in seeing Queen with Adam Lambert or prior to that Queen and Paul Rodgers. Nothing against them. If that's what they want to do, and if people want to go and see it, that's fair enough. But they're not Queen. They're half a Queen. But yeah, would have loved to have seen Queen. Another one that hopefully I'll get to see, and that's Blur. I I was first reserve on a ticket when they played Cardiff. One of my flatmates' sister wasn't sure whether she'd be able to go, and if she couldn't, I was going to have the ticket. That was on the Great Escape tour, but unfortunately she went, so I never got to see them then. I'd have liked to have seen them when they did their Reformation around 2012, that sort of time. However, apart from tiny little gigs that I had no chance of getting a ticket for anyway, it would have meant going to see him at Hyde Park, and I hate Hyde Park as a venue. I've been there once to see Red Hot Chili Peppers and absolutely hated it. It was just, it's too big. It's the staggered sound, so what you're watching doesn't match what you're listening to. It's a nightmare to get in and out of. It just wasn't fun. So I refuse to go there. Which is also why I haven't seen somebody who's not on this list, but that's Stevie Wonder, who's somebody else I would love to see live, but I'm not going to see him at Hyde Park, which is all he seems to play nowadays. So yeah, hopefully in a few years they'll get back together again, and they might do some smaller, more local shows. Fingers crossed. And finally, Dire Straits. I got into Dire Straits around Brothers in Arms, as many people did, but sort of went back, even though I was, 10 when Brothers in Arms came out. You know, I went back and got their earlier stuff and fast became a fan. I just wasn't going to concerts, really, until I was... Well, I haven't really started going to concerts properly, only in the last sort of 15, 20 years or so. But certainly when I was 10 to 16, which is when On Every Street came out, I think, it sort of wasn't really a thing that I would be doing because I was too young. So I never got a chance to see Dire Straits live. Could have gone and see Mark Knopfler, but it's not the same. So yeah, Dire Straits, that's number 10. So yeah, other honourable mentions: Stevie Wonder, Supergrass I'd love to see live. Again, with their reunion tour, it was timing. The only sort of logical one I could get to was London, and the dates just didn't work for me. There were sort of the other two big. Elastica I would have liked to have seen, but only during the first album period. Their second album wasn't as good. Just having a glance to see if I can think of anyone. Joss Stone I'd love to see live, but again, she doesn't really play. When she does play the UK, she only plays for big cities. You know, Birmingham, Manchester, London, Newcastle maybe. She doesn't tend to play any smaller venues, which is a shame, because I love her. Yeah, that's probably about it. I've been quite lucky, you know, most of my favourite acts I have been fortunate enough to see. You know, saw Prince a number of times, saw Bowie twice, seen Robbie Williams loads of times, Paul McCartney, Divine Comedy loads of times, Duke Special, and the smaller acts like that, Sleeper. Didn't see them at the time, but since they've reformed, seen them 4 or 5 times already. Blue Tones, similarly, I've seen 3 times since they've reformed, but didn't see them originally. You know, lots of my favourite acts I've been fortunate enough to see. So, there's not that many that I'm sort of desperate. So, of the ones that are possible, PJ Harvey, and then Blur and Pulp, should they get back together again at any point. I think all the rest weren't possible, or, you know, Dire Straits isn't going to happen. Yeah, anyway, thank you, Rob. Thank you for the contest. Good idea. Enjoyed doing it. Enjoyed thinking, you know, who it would be. As I said before, great channel. If you don't already subscribe to Rob, subscribe to Rob. I'll link to him down below. Great guy. Yeah. That's all I've got to say. Thank you very much, Rob. Thanks for watching. Like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in another video. Thanks. Bye.